Hi, welcome back to Cosmic Connection podcast. We talk about everything astrology, spirituality, what's going on in the world. My name is Nicole.
And I'm Dave.
And today is July 14, Friday. And we had a tornado here in Ottawa and Montreal. And we're actually living in between the city, Ottawa and Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
And this tornado I actually felt that, in the car, washing machine, it was really strong, but really short period of time where we live. Then that tornado really hit city of Montreal. It flooded everything. And I see, I saw people's posting on TikTok, cars were sunk in the water, people living in, basement or first floor, they got affected. It was really bad. I felt really terrible.
Yeah.
And now that tornado is in north of the Quebec and at the moment passing Boston. And it will just kind of disappear. So today's episode, let's talk about the natural disaster and weather and the link into the astrology.
And today we want to lay down the groundwork and the foundation of our future podcasts.
Yeah, let's go back to the weather thing. So July 12th was my birthday. So we went to Montreal.
Yeah.
It was nice this day. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't humid or anything. It was a really nice day. However, we had an incident that, the lamp oil we stored in the trunk got spilled.
Yeah, that was
so it's chemical spilled, right? So, and we had to come back early. And we talked about, the chemical spill is also related to Saturn in Pisces, especially when Saturn retrograde in sign of Pisces, it can manifest as the chemical spill or breakage in the dam, because the Saturn make a structure in the Pisces. So Pisces is about the oil, petroleum, anything fog, water reservoir, so dam breakage can be like that, or pipe breaks. Because a pipe is, even though you can relate it to Scorpio or underground, however, we don't really see that on the surface. So it's a hidden, so you can see that as like a Piscean theme as well.
Yeah.
So we felt that energy, something is leaking, something leaked out, and like we had to clean up our entire car, and it didn't really damage our car, but we had to suffer a little bit. We already felt some kind of leakage or like a spill out energy because of the Saturn retrograde in Pisces related to Pluto in Capricorn. Also, the node will shift the sign very soon. And then very next day, we got tornado. The thing is, we don't get tornado in Canada.
Historically, growing up in like Toronto, tornadoes were unheard of. However, since 2018?
Yeah, recent year, right?
Yeah, we started to get more tornadoes.
And the funny thing is, so whenever I visit US just for fun or just like sightseeing, whatever, the people there always ask me, Nicole, why did you choose Canada when US is right there?
Yeah.
And I don't know that my life put me in Canada. And then why people in US talk about Canada like that, why they don't really value Canada. And the research about it, it's all about weather. Because Canada is well known for cold weather, but US is well known for beautiful weather. Right?
Well, they have all four seasons.
Exactly, like California.
At any point in time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The abundance of the, nature is there. So that's why a lot of people don't understand why you go to Canada when USA is there. So I started to asking people who immigrant in Canada, why did you pick Canada because to me, my life just put me in Canada. I didn't really have a choice. I wanted to go to US, but at that time, my parents, whatever, the situation just put me here. But why did you come here? And a lot of people says that, well, I was in US, but I was really sick of the tornado, natural disaster, and alligator and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So, and then there is a kind of famous TikTok sound. Canadian people saying that, oh, we don't have a tornado, we don't have alligator, we don't have a tornado, we don't have an alligator, saying that living in Canada is better than US.
Yeah.
So, but we have a tornado. So only thing Canada doesn't have is alligator.
We have alligators.
We do, but like not as much as like Florida does. So anyway, so yeah, like one of the benefit living in Canada was we don't have a tornado, but now we do.
Yeah.
It's insane because was it a year ago? We actually had a tornado passing right at our parking.
Yeah. So that was about a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago.
Yeah.
It's literally, I didn't know, but like my neighbor who living in front of our street was looking at our driveway.
And right behind us, they saw the massive storm, right?
Yeah, storm coming. Yeah. And then my neighbor actually filmed that tornado was like literally passing by the driveway. If the tornado was a little bit more closer to our home, I think our backside, like a side door might be completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my first experience of tornado. And we are seeing that tornado more often because in Canada, we have an emergency alarm, right? So the alarm goes on like really often.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, like a storm or tornado.
Or even like abductions, but that's for another.
Different story. Yeah. But like the weather.
But in terms of weather, severe weather.
Yeah, like this is the first time. Yeah. So in astrology, like when you want to see abnormal like weather activity, we can actually find that in Uranus in Taurus.
Yeah. Well, anything relating to the Earth would be Taurus. And then Uranus would be unexpected change. Yeah. So unexpected change to our Earth is a very Uranus and Taurus.
Uranus has air quality and it's like electric. It's like a thunderstorm and quick change. So Uranus drives in the air sign.
Yeah.
But when Uranus comes to Earth sign, it brings the destruction in the Earth because of Taurus represent like Mother Gaia, our body,
food
we eat. So we see a lot of the Uranus in Taurus quality since 2008. So I would just say we will see more weather change until, I guess, 2025,
2026.
2026. Yeah,
because it retrogrades as well, right?
Yeah. Some people talk about the this weather is a weather modification, like harp or some kind of energy weapon. The hidden society, they are using that technology to manipulating weather. Yeah, like I think when the Uranus in Taurus transit, I feel like they will just use it as a like, oh, it's a natural disaster, it's out of our hands. But if they are gonna reveal this secret weapon, they will reveal this when Uranus will enter in Gemini, because this is air sign, it drives it. And during that time, usually, a lot of technological advanced happens, so people will accept that kind of like a high technology. But at the moment, I see that all the weather change as Uranus in Taurus transit.
That's right. So the weather thing, it's been pretty erratic in our area. Let's just say like Ontario and Quebec and even Vancouver. Right? So
a lot of water issues.
Yeah, a lot of water issues this year. We had the flooding in Merritt, BC. We had the flooding in downtown Vancouver. A lot of bridges broke. And so we're starting to see a lot of these erratic weather changes, whether it's due to climate change, whether it's due to weather manipulation, act of God, it doesn't matter. Like it's happening. And what we have to do is understand the bigger picture. And one thing that we could do is to provide insight that, hey, Uranus is in Taurus at the moment. So this is kind of expected, right?
Exactly.
So a few practical things that I can think of is just have an emergency kit,
Absolutely.
And if we go back to January of last year with the North Node in Taurus, what was the general theme? Like on social media, it was all about prepping, right? Prepping, what makes you feel secure, the money system. And again, that's another topic. However, the general theme here is Taurian qualities. And that's what we should be focusing on because of all these erratic changes, right? And, it's unfortunate that in Canada and even in the US, all of these weather changes are happening. And a lot of people have had to deal with loss and losing their home and repairs. And this kind of does coincide with the South Node being in Scorpio. Of the weakening of other people's money, weakening of insurance companies.
Yeah, and also Scorpio rules the pipe. Right. So it weakening
underground,
the pipe.
The underground.
So I saw a lot of social media posts in Montreal. Their pipe system, their toilet, their sink, the water was a backflow. Like water just came out of that pipe because the city is literally having flood issue.
And even in our area where we see the city doing the pipe reconstruction in certain areas. So
that can be like a
one
Saturn
manifestation.
Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So either you can strengthening the pipe system or pipe might break. Because Saturn direct in Pisces means Saturn can make a structure in the water or like a fog or the idea. But when it retrograde, that old idea, old pipe system can break. But using this energy to just reconstructing old pipe system, old idea, old sink, toilet, that can be good prevention as well. And another interesting thing about this flood is exactly 36 years ago, 1987, July 14, Montreal had same issue. I don't think it's a tornado per se. Maybe it was more like a hail and rain. So
heavy rain.
So it same area got sunk. Literally it damaged so much. I checked the date and then checked the chart. So it created a water trine.
A grand water trine.
Water trine. So all the water sign had something
Activation.
there. Activation. Moon in Pisces, Pluto in Scorpio, and Mercury and Venus and Sun was in Cancer. So this flood happened in almost the same day. So this flood is July 13 and the previous one was July 14. It's really interesting. And to me, Montreal might have Scorpio as their IC.
And very possible, right?
Because right now, what do we have in Scorpio?
South Node.
South Node is releasing out. And the previous one, 1987, Pluto was in Scorpio. Again, so Scorpio rules the underground, the pipe system,
the home.
And there's this water sign. And the activation might flood in their home basement. And this time, Saturn retrograde back in Pisces, and all the transit makes the old system burst again. So they're restructuring. A lot of people have to go under renovation, maybe change the pipe, drag the water out, right? So to me, maybe city of Montreal has a Scorpio as IC.
Very possible.
So it makes them Leo ascendant, right? I think so. I mean, it's very possible because people in Montreal, they're really passionate. They're I see a lot of artisanal people. They are really passionate about what they do. They're really fashionable people and a lot of fire quality. And they really like beauty art. Things like that. Just like a Leo people, right?
And so that puts all the fixed signs on the angles for Montreal. And that's why there's always a lot of intensity in that city, right? And a lot of clashing of energy. But also going back to the, Scorpio on the IC, interestingly, I didn't know that Montreal was an island. It is surrounded by water. And that's why they have a lot of bridges connecting from the mainland in Quebec into the island of Montreal. So that brings a lot of significant water energy to the city.
to me, Montreal has a water and fire energy.
Yeah. It's like a New York, because
very
New York,
similar.
New York, Manhattan, it's also surrounded by water.
Oh, not only that, I don't know if people are familiar with the ley line. So the ley line is the Earth grid line, lay on all the sacred geometry pattern. And the New York and Montreal has the connection. And it's really interesting. Yeah, like New York has the similar energies island that has a lot of fire, a lot of water energy because of they bring a lot of immigration and they import, export a lot of things, and they are, like a trend center in the world. And Montreal acts really similar way as well, except Montreal is a little bit hidden because the more action is going on in Toronto, in Canada. I would say all the financial system, all the like money and trend setting things are in Toronto, but however, the fashion import, export themes are going on in Montreal more strongly.
Yeah, and a lot of head offices, especially fashion brands, they're all situated in Montreal.
Yeah, because of Canada, in order to run some business, especially if you want to sell merchandise, you need two different labels, one French, one English.
And also Montreal has access to ports.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
The water thing.
Yeah.
And the Boston and the Toronto has the connection in ley line. So they have a more energy similarity. Boston in Toronto and Montreal and New York and things like that. Anyway, that was really interesting because when I usually see major event happening in the city, whether it's a natural disaster or some kind of explosion or some kind of catastrophe, I usually want to know if something similar happened before, want to find a similarity or a cycles. And then I found out 1987 they had exactly the same issue. So it was really, really interesting.
Yeah. And so when you look at the past, you can always connect the dots, right? And it's very interesting how there's a lot of coincidences or synchronicities with events that happened and their astrological aspects and with the energy that is happening today. Having said that, we can prepare for when these astrological transits go into new signs in the future. And we can then look at similar points in that past and see if there's any similarities, right?
Exactly. I remember Turkey had
the earthquake.
And the really interesting thing about that event was Uranus was the same position. So what's that, a Uranus orbit cycle?
84 years.
84 years, so 84 years ago, Uranus was in the same spot in the Turkey. So the Uranus bring another earthquake in the same country, same city, in a similar degree.
Yeah. So basically, Turkey has a birth chart, and so it's basically their Uranus return. So Uranus being in a
Uranus return of the Turkey. Original earthquake.
Yeah, exactly. So Uranus return of the first earthquake,
and then 84 years later,
it happened again. Same degree point, and so Uranus being in Taurus in Turkey. Like a Taurus in the fourth house or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was really interesting because Uranus can create unexpected, and it was really unexpected.
Yeah.
And when I see the chart, so 84 years. So exactly, Uranus did return movement in the same city, in the same spot. It's insane. Similar fashion as this flood in Montreal too.
Yeah.
Although Uranus is not the same placement, but I can see this as Uranus in Taurus, and also the Piscean theme and Pluto bursting pipe, factor as well. So Uranus can do this kind of thing, and not only to the weather, it can do to our food. And this is a little bit sad and stressful to me because I really care about food, right?
Most of the people care about food,
I know. So Uranus is a technology or some kind of innovation, right? So we see a lot of innovation and technological advancement in the food system as well. So simply say it's Frankenstein food, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you do have a heightened sensitivity towards food with your moon in Taurus.
Yeah.
So you care, right? You care about our food system, how we grow our food, how we eat, what we eat. But unfortunately, like, we do have to go through this process of evolution with Uranus being in Taurus. And so, yeah, people are going to experiment with Franken food. But
I will forever say no to lab-grown meat, Franken gene therapy food. Yeah. I don't really agree.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it is being introduced into the markets, and people have to respond, right? So we know that, the best way to deal with such matters that don't resonate with you is to just avoid it.
I know. Right? Like a GMO food has been there for a long time. Yeah. And I remember, I think first GMO introduced in 1993 from Monsanto. And it's been there for a while. And we see GMO processed food everywhere. So like apparently more than 90% of corn are GMO. Yeah. So if we buy finished product or processed product, highly likely it's a GMO, unless they mention that it's a non-GMO, non-this, non-that, right? But Canada especially is removing that label. They don't have to mention that anymore. I know US and UK, they have to mention. This product contains engineering material.
Bioengineering.
Yeah, food and ingredient and things like that. But Canada, they passed a law. It's not finalized yet, but they can bypass. They don't have to mention anything at all, like including organic, non-organic. Yeah. So that as a consumer living in Canada, I might have a really hard time to pick and choose right food, because if they don't mention, then like, what do I know? How can I get the right food, the right ingredient if I don't want to have any bioengineered food, right?
Yeah. See, part of the human experience is about making choices. And if you don't know what is in the food, that's the main issue, right? Because whether or not there's bioengineered food, that's out of our control, right? So naturally, in this process of evolution, scientists will experiment, right? Like, what if there's a food shortage? How can we deal with that? And so that's why they're trying to figure out how they can sustain this food supply, the food system. If we have issues with, let's just say, natural disasters and entire crops and fields and parts of our earth are destroyed, then do we temporarily introduce bioengineered food? However, if there isn't any labeling, then how do we know what we're putting into our bodies?
It's literally take the power away from the consumer, right? So we don't want to mention that. We don't want to say any ingredient list. We don't have obligation to tell you what it is. Yeah. But you just have to buy, then it's really power controlled at the end of the day. Yeah. And I feel like this is also part of transit. And because of when I think about the Uranus in Gemini, because of this is more technologically advanced transit, so that let's say people created a Frankenstein food, but they actually create the natural technology can duplicate. So it's not Frankenstein, it's not bioengineered. It is just kind of using the nature technology and make it more abundant, match with our DNA, and our body can break down, our body can flourish from that technology, right? So I feel like after 2026, all the like Frankenstein food, lab-grown meat will have another development. So maybe I will wait until then, but at the moment, the Uranus, the technological advanced in the Taurus theme, I don't really agree.
And the best thing you can do is to grow your own food, right? That's like the foolproof way of dealing with this Uranus and Taurus transit is, if you have a small little garden and if you grow your own organic food.
Yeah, but not everyone has that option.
Exactly. But if you do have the option,
then obviously,
it will be like one solution.
Exactly. So the Taurus we can see as Earth. Uranus can manifest that as a like a weather change, a natural disaster, and Taurus as a food, and Uranus bring the kind of Franken innovation in the food. And Uranus is also air, really quick. So we see a lot of like a delivery food and food meal already prepped and delivered to the door kind of.
Yeah, all the convenience.
Is there. So when the Uranus in Taurus manifests into our body and people, like there's huge debate among the people saying that like adopting the chip in our body is good or bad, like, oh yeah, I don't want to bring my like passport or like my ID because of the convenience. I want to insert the chip into my body so that all the information, all the like bank money system is in me. And some people say, hell no, I'm not going to insert anything into my body, integrate technology into my DNA. So that is like a huge topic right now too, right? So that's what Uranus brings in sign of Taurus.
Yeah. And when you look at the big picture, like Uranus in the modern sense rules Aquarius. And so, us being in the age of Aquarius, or at least in that transition point, we got to look at the qualities of Aquarius, the qualities of Uranus, right? So one thing that kind of comes to mind is convenience, right? So now everything is about convenience. So convenient food, like food delivered to you, convenience in having the car come pick you up right at your doorstep, convenience of putting things into your physical body so that you don't have to carry them. So we have to really discern how far can they go before we start destroying humanity, before we start destroying the evolution. And so all these outer planets going retrograde are allowing us to revisit, like, okay, enough is enough. And we need to really just focus on the bigger picture and focus on the evolution and the technology that's really going to bring life to humanity, right? And it's not just for the sake of convenience, like putting things into your body, putting things, whether it's food, whether it's devices, whether it's technology, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, my point is that what Uranus can do to our body as a technological advance. So, Elon Musk is already talking about putting the chip to bring into our brain capacity even greater.
Yeah, Neuralink.
But I wouldn't do that until Uranus goes in Gemini, because we're going to see more technological advanced and that we don't have to do that to our body. You know what I mean? Because it's Uranus in Taurus. Taurus theme includes our body. That's why like people have an idea of upgrading our body. I know that this kind of technology can help some people. And I even saw the article saying that some kind of the neural link, put that into someone's brain, can make that person walk, because that person actually lost the ability to walk and move body, but because of that he can move and kind of live his life. So like in that kind of situation, yes, but we don't have to prematurely change our body and put the chip into our physical body, you know what I mean? So this is just short transit, and we're gonna have a better transit. So like a wait, I guess, until 2026, we don't have to prematurely like I say yes to anything.
Yeah, because
right?
Uranus is not comfortable in earth and water signs, but it thrives in air and fire signs.
Exactly.
So when Uranus does ingress into Gemini, it'll be in its natural element.
Exactly.
So it'll be easier for it to express.
Exactly. Then it doesn't have to be our body. It doesn't have to be, we have to change the DNA making Franken food or Franken body, right? So it will be more like a advanced, more harmonizing technology will help our humanity. Maybe by then, scientists can harness the Earth magnetic field to bring like a zero field energy, 0 point energy, like technology, so that we don't have to use a fossil fuel. We don't have to rely on the battery car, because the battery also like really make our Earth tainted, right? So because of, in order to make a battery, you have to harness some like a material in the like mining, and that involves the child labor and other huge issues. So the electric car is not the I guess answer. And I'm just really hoping that Uranus in Gemini transit can bring more true eco-friendly, true technology can bring advanced for the humanity.
Yeah. So when Uranus does ingress into Gemini in 2026, we have to really look at what are all the Gemini themes, right? So, one thing that I can already see in the media are 15-minute cities, because what's a 15-minute city? It's a local neighborhood that has everything that it needs. So with Uranus in Gemini, it's changing the way we live in our local neighborhood. It's also bringing advancements to vehicles.
Yeah, like as I mentioned that it's like a zero field fuel, right? When you actually use the Earth magnetic field, it's just like going back to Nikola Tesla's 369 energy field. He actually created a free energy tower. It powered the nearby cities, like the light bulb and how people use the electricity. Yeah. So when we use the technology, I guess the speed of the car will be a lot faster. So our kind of limited understanding of 15-minute city, like a 15-minute walk, a 15-minute driving distance?
The concept would be like nobody owns any vehicles, right? So it's about like clean energy. So only walking and biking.
Yeah, but imagine people can travel really, really fast. Because I heard with future technology, I guess Asia to Boston, for example, will take half an hour. Or 20 minutes, right? So it makes the global more closer.
Smaller,
smaller. So in my, driving distance here to 15 minutes only take me the closest to Walmart, right? So if I limit my freedom to there, it's too little. It's too small. Yeah. But with the technological advance, what Gemini carries, Gemini has a language, transportation. So like when we have a better transportation, the 15-minute will be here to, California. Ottawa, Montreal to California, or even China, right? So it might be like that. So I'm hoping less of the claustrophobic, like I cannot move more than like 10 kilometers and things like that, right? So the Gemini will bring transportation advancement. Of course. Human will travel faster, and we already see that kind of news right there.
Flying cars and high-speed trains.
Yeah, high-speed train and sealed by some kind of capsule. Yeah. So they literally
levitate.
They shoot the capsule faster than speed of light. Yeah. Things like that. So like anything is possible in Uranus and Gemini.
Well, anything is, but in the very advanced sense, like us being able to travel at the speed of light, that could be something that resonates with space travel. Yeah,
so we are expecting that kind of advancement in Uranus in Gemini transit. So I feel like during this transit, the language barrier will be completely disappear. Right now, ChatGPT is doing great job, but however, when I translate to Korean, Chinese, it's a difficult. It's not that smooth. English is really amazing. Oh yeah. Oh my God, it's like the writing and how it creates the structure of the sentences is beautiful. Yeah. But Korean is catching up, is getting better. Yeah. But by that time, Uranus in Gemini, it will completely break down.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
People will communicate without going through the ChatGPT, try to understand what this person says to me based on the person's language barrier or tradition or culture. It will be completely disappear. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, another thing about Uranus and Gemini represents early childhood education. So at that point, I think that learning skills and the way we teach children is also going to change, right? So are we going to see a lot of homeschooling? Are we going to see, people learning in the metaverse, right? Are we going to be changing the school system, right? Like there's a lot of new developments that we can expect from 2026 to about 2033.
Exactly. That will be really interesting, right? So we really have to look forward to the Gemini transit. And also Saturn and Uranus will be conjunct in sign of Gemini as well. So this is more like a bigger cycle about how the world economy and world structure is about. We actually talked about this cycle in our cryptocurrency course.
Yeah, Age of Aquarius course,
Because between Saturn and Uranus cycle, when you actually study about astrology and economy and history, people will see the huge impact on these two planets dancing together. So the previous one, they conjunct in the sign of Sagittarius. and right after the Cold War. And the leading country of the world was the USA at that time. So after this conjunction, people in the world was focusing on globalization, going into the far, globalizing everything. So now we are almost end of it. Not quite end of it, but we are heading into the end part.
By 2032, they're going to conjunct again.
And then this new structuring of the global thing,
global economy
will be happening in sign of Gemini. So the Gemini transit will be really, really important.
Yeah.
And this current one was a globalization. And then this next one will be the localization.
Yeah.
So that's why 15-minute city, localization.
Even metaverse, doing everything from home, working from home.
Yeah, local community. So the theme that people are constantly talking about in the social media and the media space is giving us a hint where we are heading,
exactly.
right? So that's why seeing things, bigger picture is always really important. And where we are at and what kind of the transit is happening or happened.
And what I really like about Gemini is that it's a dual sign and it's very mutable as well. So there's lots of changes, lots of choices. If we go back to the pandemic in Toronto, when the North Node was in Gemini, you were able to go into a restaurant, but you couldn't dine in.
You couldn't,
You could have delivery and you could have takeout, but you couldn't dine in. So again, there's a duality there. There's a choice that you can make. And even when there were all these mandates, again, people had the choice. You can either dine in or you can have delivery or you can take out. And so when there are any planets that are in Gemini, there's always a choice. So when Uranus or even this Uranus-Saturn cycle, they start a new conjunction in Gemini, we're going to have choices to make.
Exactly.
And so it's really important that when you do have the bigger picture in mind and you're able to, again, discern what's good for me and what's not good for me, hopefully, collectively we'll make the right choices. But Gemini, because it's a dual sign, we will be able to oscillate between the negative choice and the positive choice,
it's
right?
Basically like the twin, Castor and Pollux. I say yes and no, yes and no. Do you like this? Do you like that? So we can able to make a choice, right?
So there's going to be a lot of new things, a lot of choices to make, and it'll be a very, very interesting time.
Really interesting time. So right now it's not time to make a choice, especially Uranus in Taurus. Don't make a changes in your body, physical body. Don't make a changes in the Franken food. And
stick with nature.
Yeah, stick with the nature.
Natural technologies.
Uranus in Taurus is bringing the destruction in the weather system, earthquake, weather. I mean, like the
disruption.
Disruption. That's out of our control. However, what Taurus represent our physical body, five senses, our food, the value system, that I don't want to change too suddenly.
Yeah.
So just wait until.
Yeah, you just have to maintain, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, this was a really interesting discussion. I really liked it.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to talk about the node, actually. Not really node in a transit sense. It's more like node, not really fixicity, you know what I mean? Should we talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're now living in the age of Aquarius based on the Mayan calendar. Although there's huge debates in the astrological community, some people believe that it already happened 1970, and some people believe that it haven't happened. It will happen in a couple hundred years later, it's far away in the future. And some people believing in that the calculation will be 2024. And the Mayan calendar, it says that it happened 2011 and 12.
Yeah, so there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah, so why is that? But we do see end of the Piscean theme, right? End of the religion. So speaking of the religion, so we don't see people go to church every Sunday as much as before. When I was growing up, a lot of people was dedicated. It was a thing.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a Buddhist types of environment.
Culture.
Yeah. So my family don't go to church, but I do have a lot of friends who are Christian or Catholic family. They go to church every Saturday, Sunday, no matter what. But I don't really see that anymore. And a lot of churches are sold and the people bought the old church, they renovated and then changed that into commercial building or living space. So yeah, like at the weakening of the church power is there. I see that. So that's the end of the Age of Piscean theme. And then we see a lot of Age of Aquarius theme happening here, but it's all in between. It's not completely we're living in Age of Aquarius.
We're in a transition period, right? So this transition period is usually like 300 years.
Yeah, like a lot of old like a text or ancient astrologers saying that when the solar system changed the sign and the true manifestation of the sign will happen 300 years after.
Yeah, and none of us will be alive in 300 years, right? unless they upload our consciousness into the cloud or something, right?
Or like we have a sudden ascension happen like really soon, and all of a sudden like, wow, we're living in the like a different reality. Anyway, at the moment, our solar system is literally in between these two signs, Pisces and Aquarius, due to the wobbling. So I wanted to talk about this wobble thing.
Yeah.
Maybe people who are familiar with astrology heard about void of course moon. Void of course moon is well known for you don't initiate anything, you don't sign up anything, you don't start anything during this time.
That's right, because the energy is flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why its energy is flat because of, let's say, Pisces and Aries is natural progression, right? So, and Pisces has the land and Aries has a land too. In between the land, they have a bridge.
Yeah.
So when the moon is crossing that bridge, it's the
void period.
Void period. So when you're crossing the line, it's not Pisces. It's not Aries yet. It's literally in between the border line.
Yeah, it's like if you're born in the middle of the ocean, where do you have your citizenship, right?
Exactly. It's like you born in during the flight. On the air. So you're in between US and the Mexico border. But it's like kind of in between. How can you get the citizenship, right? So like, I'm sure there is all the exception and there's rules and laws, but the energy is kind of confused, especially moon, because moon brings our reality, our emotion. That's why it suggests that don't initiate anything because of you don't know if your moon is towards to the Pisces or Aries.
And not only that, but if you're expecting results and the energy is flat, like there's no signification there, then it just won't manifest.
Yeah, but like a moon especially, you don't make a decision because moon's void of course time is
usually a couple hours.
To maximum like a half day, something like that.
So what we usually do is you just relax, you clean, you just do like just mundane stuff, right?
So like a moon just carries that energy. However, when the other planets or the calculation points are there, and you just have to deal with it, right? Like for example, like we're living in the between Pisces and Age of Aquarius, so we have to deal with it, right? But what is confirmed is we're heading into the Aquarius. We're not going back to Pisces, right? So just focusing on Age of Aquarius theme while we're living, because this in between energy will be another 300 years, right? So we cannot just relax and wait around. I'm gonna make actions 300 years after when the age really manifested into Age of Aquarius. We don't have that option. We have to living in this moment. That's why all we can do is, I guess, focusing on the heart space and going to the more like Aquarius theme. And also we talked about the miniature version of the precession of the equinox is the North Node and South Node. So when you actually study about astrology, especially looking at the ephemeris, and ephemeris has the two different node calculation point. One is the true node and the other one is mean node.
Yeah, it's interesting because nothing ever travels in the solar system on a straight line. And so think of it as like a retrograde, right? So when planets go retrograde, they slow down and they speed up, right? So when we're looking at from our point on Earth, it looks like a planet is going backwards, but it's actually not. It's just relative to the rest of the planets in our solar system, it's slowing down. When you look at the movement of the retrograde, it's like a loop, right? So if we apply that concept to the nodes, right? Even though the nodes are calculation points.
Because of Earth is wobble, right?
Because of the wobble, we have to factor in that retrograde calculation.
Yeah, that's why the true node in the ephemeris
is different from the mean node.
Yes.
And the mean node basically just takes the average of that wobble. And so when we look at the difference between the mean node and the true node within today's context, it's a discrepancy of like 4 days, I think, right? So on July 13th, yesterday, the mean node already ingressed into 29 degrees of Aries. Yeah. However, the true node will ingress into 29 degrees of Aries on the 17th.
Yeah, so think about it. So like all the flood happened on 13th, which the mean node already ingressed the sign of Aries. So after this flood, people have to react really quickly. At first, they're gonna do something about it, you know. So this also has a North Node in Aries quality as well. Yeah. But the true node will be ingressed in the 17th, as we know, as all the astrologers.
17th, 18th, depending on where you are in the world, right?
Like all the astrologer promotes it. So it has a little bit of like early energy. So it's basically you're playing seesaw. Yeah. Right. So you went up like, let's say 2 meters. Let's say it's a huge giant seesaw. So when you go up, it lifts you up to 2 meters, and when you come down, it's a ground. Yeah. So that 2 meter is the kind of discrepancy where the wobble takes you to further away first, and then later your ground will lift up 2 meters away and then meet that point, if that makes sense.
Well, the way I look at it is that instead of like focusing on the dates specifically, what we know is that after the true node ingresses into Aries, it'll just make it more official.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because then both of the nodes will be in Aries. And also, whenever we have, new moon activation, full moon activation, we always say like plus or minus a week. Right? So you know that generally within a week's time period, like plus or minus, you know that there's going to be some sort of activation.
Exactly. And also, if you want to understand this more, you can check your birth chart. Yeah. We have an AC. The CAC is where your soul comes into this 3D and meets your physical body. That's why the birth chart casts the first breath when you take from your birth, right? So that brings your AC, and then opposite sign, we call that DC, descendant, right? However, because of Earth is wobbling, right? So DC actually can expand to we call that in astrology, vertex. You can find the vertex and then see how far is from your descendant line. It's usually in between above the descendant and below the descendant, like whichever your kind of wobble happened, the time of your birth. Yeah.
The vertex would generally be in the 6th, 7th, 8th houses in your birth chart, right? So it'll always be, plus or minus one sign.
So for example, Dave, your descendant is 11 degree Taurus, but your vertex is sitting on
27 degrees Gemini.
So in between that area is your descendant, extended descendant. You have to understand the others in that.
That's my 7th house, basically.
Basically. And also every time you meet someone in that your vertex point, because of the Earth was already wobbled, your soul already went to 27 degree Gemini as a descendant, and then when it comes down as a wobble down, and then you came to this Earth. So your physical body manifested in your body, so that even though your descendant is 11 degree Taurus, you have to learn further away to the 27 degree Gemini. So when you meet someone who has a 27 degree Gemini, or when the planet is transiting 27 degree Gemini, it brings you some kind of karmic
activation.
event. Activation that you see what you saw when you were highest in that energy. It bring you, oh, that's what I saw actually. This is where I have to break through. That kind of energy.
Yeah, right? And usually like, the 7th house and the DC and the vertex are usually used in synastry, right? Because it's always about the other, right? So very karmic relationships, whether it be like friendships, whether it be parent and child, whether it be romantic relationships, it's all in that seventh house, right? So it's really interesting that, you know, even when we met, your progressed Venus
was 27 degrees.
Was conjunct my natal Vertex.
Exactly.
Right. So we were destined to meet in this lifetime. And that's why we're doing this podcast together as well, because it's the Gemini quality in us, right? So we not only do we have the Venus conjunction, but we also had your progressed Venus conjunct my Vertex back then, right?
Yeah, back then.
And now we're sort of living out that karmic connection, right? So
yeah, basically, if you meet someone or the event happened in your vertex point, it help you to go into the further away, so that event or the person can help you to go beyond that the box where you're living in, basically. So it's a really interesting point. So yeah, check out your vertex. If you want to check where is your vertex, you can go to astro.com, go to free extended birth chart. Yeah. And then at the bottom is
there's an option to check vertex.
Yeah. There's a bunch of listed stars, and you can check a vertex. Yeah. And then from direct opposition to the vertex, we call that anti-vertex. It's about yourself as well. So this wobble brings nothing is set in stone. Everything is moving. Everything is vibrating, right? So in the, I guess one of the Buddha script says that everything is a vibration. Yeah. Nothing is set in stone. Everything is moving. So yeah, like even Earth is moving. Even our cells are like oscillating, vibrating. Yeah. Even our birth chart, we cast our chart in the 2D form, in the point calculation. However, when you actually understand deeper movement of the astral body in the like sky, they're moving.
Yeah, so everything in the universe is basically like oscillating between 2 points. You know, like nothing is ever fixed, nothing is ever static in this incarnation. Like even hard objects like tables, like at the microscopic nano level, it's also oscillating, right? So instead of looking at one fixed point or one fixed position, it's important to look at the range, right? Like the plus or minus, because everything is oscillating, everything is vibrating, everything's in motion.
Exactly.
Even when we look at a birth chart, we never really look at one fixed point. There's always like an orb, right? So, you know, with different planets, we give like a 2-degree orb or a 3-degree orb or a 10-degree orb, like if you want to be very generous. But everything is a range, right?
Yeah, like even see things in a bigger picture helped me to become better astrologer, because, you know, like I started with the astrology with the whole sign, and I got introduced Placidus, and I studied a little bit about the Vedic and real sidereal, which see the actual location of the planet in the cosmos and how it relates to the cycles and human psychology and events happening in the earth. And also, I started with the Eastern astrology and merging everything in, put everything factor in, just realized that, yeah, nothing is a set in stone. Nothing is really only truth, and everything contains the truth in that, right? It's more like a fractal kind of energy, right? So when I don't understand why this kind of event happened a little bit earlier than what I anticipated, and then when I see, yeah, like Earth and everything in the universe is like a vibrating, has the kind of the range of the motion. At the same time, the actual placement in the sky cosmos and the how it comes to our solar system has a traveling time, has always a like unknown factor in. It's just really fascinating.
Yeah, and we are the creators of our reality, right? So it's like looking at waves and particles, right?
Exactly.
So in the scientific experiment, when there was the observer's effect, it changed the way that they moved, right? And so when we perceive our reality and we add action and we add our intuition and our attention, then yeah, we mold and shape our reality.
Great. So wrapping around this episode, today we talked about the flood happened in Montreal, that exact similar energy happened like 36 years ago, 1987, July 14, this time July 13, 1 day difference. And we talked about the Uranus in Taurus and Uranus in Gemini. And also we talked about the mean node and true node and the wobble and the oscillating things.
And vertex and anti-vertex.
Yeah.
So, and karmic relationships.
And moving forward, we're going to talk about more of those ideas. So today is more like laying the foundation of these topics. Hope you enjoy our podcast today. And again, we really wish you to see things cosmically and connect the dots in a bigger cycle and bigger picture.
And don't forget to share this podcast and like and subscribe, and hope to see you next time.
Okay, until then, bye for now.
Bye for now.